January 17, 1961, Katanga Province, Belgian Congo. 3 men are dragged from a plane in the dead of night, hands bound, mouths bloodied, their crime, believing Africa could be free. One of them is Patrice Lumumba, the democratically elected Prime Minister of the Congo. Just 7 months ago, he stood before the world as the symbol of African independence. Tonight he will be shot, his body dissolved in acid, and his dream of a free Africa buried with him. His killers, the CIA, Belgium, and his own people, bought and paid for by foreign powers. This is the story of the man they murdered after just 67 days in power, the president who dared to say no to the West, the leader whose assassination changed Africa forever. For 75 years, the Congo had been Belgium's personal gold mine. King Leopold II turned it into hell on earth. 10 million Congolese died under his rubber terror. Even after Leopold's death, Belgium kept bleeding the Congo dry. Diamonds, gold, copper, uranium, yes, the uranium used in America's atomic bombs came from the Congo. The Congolese people, they were nothing but labor. Patrice Lumumba was born in 1925 in a small village. Brilliant, charismatic, and angry at injustice, he became a postal clerk, one of the few educated positions open to Congolese men. But Lumumba didn't want to sort Belgium's mail. He wanted to free his people. By the late 1950s, he'd founded the Congolese national movement, the MNC. His message was simple: independence. Now, not in 10 years, not in 5 years. Now. On June 30, 1960, the impossible happened. Belgium granted the Congo independence. King Baudouin of Belgium gave a speech praising his country's civilizing mission. He spoke of Belgium's generosity, of how they'd brought progress to the Congo. The Congolese leaders sat and listened politely. Then Patrice Lumumba, now Prime Minister, stood up. What he said next shocked the world. Lumumba didn't thank Belgium, he condemned them. We have known ironies, insults, blows that we had to endure morning, noon, and night because we were Negroes, he declared. He spoke of Congolese forced to address white men as master. He spoke of children torn from their mothers. He spoke of men worked to death in the mines so Belgium could grow rich. We are no longer your monkeys, he thundered. The Belgians were horrified. The Congolese people erupted in celebration. The world watched in shock. And in Washington, D.C., the CIA began planning his death. To the CIA, Lumumba wasn't a freedom fighter. He was a communist threat. It was 1960, the height of the Cold War. The Congo sat on a fortune in minerals. The United States needed those resources. The Soviet Union wanted them too. President Eisenhower made it clear, Lumumba had to go. On August 18, 1960, just 7 weeks after independence, CIA Director Allen Dulles authorized Lumumba's assassination. The CIA station chief in the Congo, Larry Devlin, was given explicit orders: eliminate Lumumba by any means necessary. Poison was prepared, assassins were recruited, plans were drawn up. But the CIA wouldn't have to do it themselves. They had local partners willing to pull the trigger. Belgium wanted the Congo back. Not officially, colonialism was out of fashion, but they wanted control of the mines, the wealth, the resources. Lumumba threatened that. He talked about nationalizing the mining companies. He spoke of Congolese control over Congolese wealth. Belgium began funding separatist movements. The mineral-rich province of Katanga, backed by Belgian mining companies, declared independence. The Congo was being ripped apart. Joseph Mobutu was a young army colonel. Lumumba had promoted him, trusted him, made him chief of staff of the armed forces. But Mobutu had other plans. The CIA knew Mobutu was ambitious. They knew he could be bought, and in September 1960 they bought him. With CIA money and support, Mobutu staged a coup. On September 14, 1960, just 67 days after Lumumba took power, Mobutu seized control. He announced the government was suspended. He placed Lumumba under house arrest. The democratically elected prime minister was now a prisoner in his own home. But Lumumba refused to go quietly. Lumumba was trapped in his residence in Leopoldville, surrounded by Mobutu's soldiers and UN peacekeepers who refused to help him. The United Nations had troops in the Congo, but they stood by and did nothing. Their orders were to remain neutral. Neutral meant letting a democratic leader be overthrown. For weeks, Lumumba stayed in his house, giving speeches from his window, writing letters, pleading with the world to help. Nobody came. On November 27, 1960, Lumumba made a desperate move. He escaped. In the middle of the night, he slipped past the guards and fled toward Stanleyville, where his supporters still controlled territory. If he could reach them, he could rally resistance. For 3 days he ran, close, so close. But the CIA was watching. On December 1, 1960, Mobutu's soldiers caught up with him. They beat him in front of his wife and children. They paraded him through villages, his hands tied, his dignity stripped away. Villagers who'd once cheered for him now spat at him, terrified of being labeled Lumumba supporters themselves. He was thrown in prison, tortured, humiliated. The CIA had him where they wanted him. But keeping Lumumba alive was risky. Even in prison, he was a symbol. His supporters were regrouping. There was talk of rescue attempts, of international pressure. Belgium wanted him dead, the CIA wanted him dead, and Mobutu, who owed his power to both, wanted him gone. On January 17, 1961, the decision was made. Lumumba and 2 of his allies would be transferred to Katanga, the breakaway province controlled by Belgian-backed separatists. Everyone knew what that meant. That night, Lumumba was forced onto a plane. He knew he was going to die. Witnesses reported that he was beaten during the flight. His glasses were smashed. His teeth were knocked out. By the time the plane landed in Katanga, he could barely walk. Belgian officers and Katangan soldiers were waiting for him. They drove him and his 2 companions, Maurice Mpolo and Joseph Aki, into the bush. And then they murdered them. The details of what happened that night are horrific. Lumumba and his companions were beaten with rifle butts. They were tortured. And then, sometime after midnight, they were lined up and shot. Belgian Police Commissioner Gerard Sout later admitted he was there. He described cutting up the bodies, dissolving them in acid, and scattering the remains. Patrice Lumumba, the hope of African independence, was erased. For 3 weeks, the world heard nothing. On February 13, 1961, nearly a month after the murder, Katanga's government announced that Lumumba had escaped and been killed by angry villagers. Nobody believed it, but nobody could prove otherwise. The United Nations launched an investigation, but key witnesses disappeared or refused to talk. Belgium denied involvement. The CIA destroyed documents. The truth was buried along with Lumumba's body. It took decades, but eventually the truth came out. In the 1970s, the U.S. Senate's Church Committee investigated CIA activities in the Congo. Classified documents were declassified. CIA officers testified. The picture was clear. The CIA had targeted Lumumba for assassination. They'd supported Mobutu's coup. They'd tracked Lumumba's escape. They'd known he was going to be killed. In 2002, Belgium finally admitted official responsibility for Lumumba's death. But by then, the damage was done. Lumumba's murder didn't bring stability to the Congo. It brought catastrophe. Mobutu ruled for 32 years. He renamed the country Zaire. He stole billions of dollars while his people starved. He turned one of the richest countries in Africa into one of the poorest. When Mobutu finally fell in 1997, the Congo collapsed into civil war. Millions died. The Congo is still bleeding today. Patrice Lumumba didn't want much. He wanted the Congolese people to control their own resources. He wanted schools, hospitals, and dignity for his people. He wanted Africa to be free, truly free, not just independent on paper. For that, he was killed after 67 days. 67 days, 2 months. That's all the time the West gave Africa's democratically elected leader before deciding he had to die. Lumumba's assassination sent a message across Africa. If you challenge Western interests, you will be removed. Mobutu learned that lesson. He didn't challenge the West. He let American and European companies take what they wanted. He got rich, and the Congo got nothing. Other African leaders learned the same lesson. Stay in line or end up like Lumumba. But Lumumba's death also inspired a generation. Che Guevara went to the Congo to fight in his name. Malcolm X spoke of him. Revolutionary movements across Africa and the world claimed him as a martyr. His speeches are still recited. His image still appears on murals. His dream of a truly independent Africa still burns. History will one day have its say, Lumumba wrote to his wife before he died. It will not be the history taught in Brussels, Paris, Washington, or the United Nations. It will be the history taught in the countries that have won freedom from colonialism and its puppets. He was right. This is that history. If this story opened your eyes to a history you were never taught, don't let it end here. Subscribe to this channel. We tell the stories powerful institutions tried to bury. This is the history Lumumba prophesied, told by the freed, not the colonizers. More untold truths are coming. Be there when they drop.